Last time we ended with a solid shooter. The shooting mechanics were working end to end from a player input all the way to aiming with the crosshair. But there was one issue. The function we built to make all this work had grown way too big, and having everything inside a single function is not a good practice. So this felt like the perfect moment to refactor. Refactoring simply means breaking one large function into smaller, clearer functions that are easier to read, to maintain, and improve over time. I already had my own idea of how to do it, but I decided to bring AI into the process and ask ChatGPT for suggestions. The result was surprisingly good, and in this video, I am going to walk you through the approach step by step. This is the Game Creator Accelerator channel, and I am Tony Munoz. If you enjoy Unreal Engine tutorials, third-person shooter development, and real strategies to build a long-term career in the gaming industry, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, share, and ring the bell. Here we do more than just technical tutorials because knowing code alone is not enough. To succeed in the short and long term, you also need the right mindset, methodology, and strategy. If you want to learn more about the Game Creator Accelerator Lifetime Mentorship and how to build your path as a game developer even after office hours, visit woolen.com. The link is in the description. And you can also book a one-on-one chat with me if you are looking to create something meaningful, something that truly matters to you. Let's talk. And now let's get started. Let's start by checking what we had last time. So we have our character and we can shoot, we can aim and shoot, and you can see that we always draw a line from the muzzle of the weapon to what we are aiming using the crosshair. Inside our code, we have the shooter character implementation and this function called shoot button press. I just realized I have 3 T's. This is a mistake. Well, I can change that later. But what matters here is that this function is getting really big. And my goal is to refactoring. But to do that, I decided to get the help of ChatGPT and check out what it suggested. And the suggestion was fantastic. And now I am going to implement it for you one step at a time. Using ChatGPT this way, I think is the best approach possible because it is part of your process of improving things that you are creating, but it is an assistant that is helping you in that development. You need to know what you require. We're going to start by creating a group of functions that will implement every section of this function of shoot button press. Let's go to the header and moving down until we reach the end on the private section. And now we're going to start adding some functions. The first one will be to play shoot SFX const. And as you can imagine, it will play shooting sound effect. And I love the AI suggesting me this. So let's do this first step. Create the function. Here I have it. And now let's go to the top. I can close the other functions so I can have more space. And go to the top of shoot button press. Here we have the shoot sound effects that we want to do. So I'm going to remove this entire section. Go back to the bottom and add it here. And so far, we don't have to add any more changes. I just had to call this function where I was at the top. Just call play shoot SFX. And you can now start understanding how this is going to be lots more clean. I'm also going to close the functions I have on the top so I can focus only on the one that matters to me. Let's go to the next function on the header, which will be try get muzzle transform. I'm going to pass an f transform, dereferencing out socket transform, and also an f vector by reference using out muzzle start. I'm finishing again with a const. And different to the previous one we watch a void, in this case I will receive a boolean. And let's add the comment. I will add try first to get the muzzle transform and muzzle start location. And I'm going to create another function that will be related to this one, which is the spawn. Void spawn. I will name it muzzle flash, and I will pass a const f vector by reference called muzzle start, and another const f transform by reference name socket transform const. And let's add the comment, spawn muzzle flash at the given location, and let's add rotation. Once I try and get the muzzle transform, then I know that I can spawn it. Now let's create these two functions. This one, and go back, and this one. Let's start with the try get muzzle transform. Go to the top, and first we are going to create the variables that we pass to this boolean. F transform, socket transform, and F vector muzzle start. And then we call the boolean function. If not try get muzzle transform, pass in the parameters that I defined just a moment ago, then return. I can make this shorter so I don't need this section. And with that, we're saying if we can get the muzzle, just finish the execution of this function. The next step is I'm going to take all this code, cut, and move it to the try get muzzle transform and paste it here. But I'm going to add some small modifications. The first is related to getting the skeletal mesh socket. I can use const u skeletal mesh component and call it mesh comp, and it will only get the mesh. If not mesh, return false, which at the end will mean that we'll stop the execution of the shooting function. Now I'm going to get the skeletal mesh socket, call it barrel socket, but instead of using the get mesh, now having the mesh component, I can pass it through here, but I don't need the parentheses. Once I get the barrel socket, if the barrel socket is nothing or is null, then I will return false. And now I don't have to create the socket transform. I will use the variable that I pass as reference. Replace this section and add the variable. And in the get mesh, you don't have to get the mesh again. Just call mesh component or mesh comp and use the out muzzle start and replace it on this section. And because the out muzzle start belongs to the out socket transform, replace the socket transform here. And finally, if all this happens, then the return will be true. Now I have a muzzle and I assign the out socket transform and the out muzzle start. And as a good practice, save. I'm also going to save the header. If we go into the top on the call of the function, now we have the try get muzzle transform. And if this value is false, then we will return. We end the function. But if we assign the values of socket transform and muzzle start, then we can continue. Let's go back to the header and add the new functions. The next one will be a boolean try get crosshair aim point. And we're going to pass as a reference a vector named out aim point. At the comment, try to get the crosshair aim point in the world. Perfect. Oh, perfect comment. I just picked the wrong one. Okay, excellent. And once we get the crosshair vector or the out aim point, then we'll use an F vector resolve muzzle to aim, and we pass a const F vector by reference muzzle start, a const F vector aim point, and also a F hit result by reference out hit. And the comment resolve the muzzle to aim point, return the hit result. Let's create our functions and the other. Go back to the shooter header and save it. And let's go to the top of the implementation. I just realized that I forgot to call the spawn once we get the muzzle transform. So let's do it here. Spawn muzzle flash, and we are passing the socket transform and the muzzle start. And because I forgot to implement the spawn muzzle flash, let's take this code, cut it, go to spawn muzzle flash, and add it or paste it inside. If a muzzle flash Niagara, then I'm going to spawn add location, pass in the get world, the muzzle flash Niagara, the muzzle start which will be this variable, and the socket transform get rotation rotator, which is part of this variable. Now let's continue with the other functions. Go to the top, and let's see why this error is generated at this moment. If you move the mouse over the parameters, you can find a possible error. Oh, I realized what was the problem. It is the order of the parameters. First this one, and then this one. The fact that there are different types of parameters helped me a lot. Now let's try get crosshair aim point. First, create a parameter of the type vector, name it aimPoint. And now, if not, try get crosshair aimPoint, passing the aimPoint of a second ago, then return. This is a good one because it contains a lot of code that we're going to move. Start with the get current size of the viewport and finish on this section of aim traced end. Cut, and let's move to the bottom where we have the try get crosshair aimPoint. And let's paste it. And because we're already here, let's make some little tuning. First, to get the current size of the viewport, instead of using all this, we can just say if not engine return false. And you can remove this section. Now let's move this parameter to the bottom. And because now we know that we have the G engine, we can go to the game viewport and get the viewport size and assign it to viewport size that we created. Now let's go to get screen location and crosshair. We can use a const as well for f-vector2d crosshair location. And now we can use this parameter to get half of the X and half of the Y size to get the crosshair, which will be in the center of the screen. Then I'm going to add a comment here for get player controller. A player controller is a PC and is a cast of a player controller get controller. And if we don't have player controller, then we return. But in this case, because this is a Boolean, what do you think we're going to return? Return false. Now let's go to the section of the D project. The first two parameters will be the same, but I'm going to make some changes for this section of this Boolean. Instead of creating the Boolean, what I will do is if not gameplay statics D project screen to world passing PC crosshair camera world position and camera world direction, then what we'll do is return false. And now I can remove the next line. Now we can add this comment to set up trace parameters and the trace from camera along crosshair world direction. We set the trace range in 50,000, aim trace start will leave it as camera world position, and aim trace end, aim trace start, camera world direction multiplied by trace range. We've been doing all this in previous lessons. If you want, you can check the link in the description to follow this entire process in detail. Then we create the f-hit result, name it aim-hit, and we obtain a Boolean for named b-aim-hit, where we're going to obtain it by using the getWorld line trace single by channel, passing aim-hit, aim trace start, aim trace end, the ECC visibility, and the params related to not to ignore the actor in this tracing. Then the result of this, instead of saving it in aim point, remember that we passed this parameter, the out aim point, copy it, remove this section, and paste it here. And if we reach to assign this value, then the return will be true. Let's save, and now let's call that function. First, it will be f-hit result muzzle, let's call it muzzle hit, and then const f-vector final impact point equals to resolve muzzle to aim, passing muzzle start, aim point, and muzzle hit. In simple words, this will guarantee that if we have a wall very close to the position we're pointing at, well, we hit the wall, not the position we are pointing at. But if nothing is covering our trajectory from the muzzle to the point indicated by the crosshair, then it will be shot to the position in the world where the crosshair is aiming. Let me pause for a second. If you're watching this, you might be doing everything you think you're supposed to do, working after office hours, following tutorials, finishing projects. Yet somehow it still feels like nothing is really moving forward. That is not a talent problem, and it's not a motivation problem. The truth is that technical skills alone are only half of the equation. They matter, but without a clear methodology, they do not turn into opportunities. What actually changes everything is having a step-by-step path, knowing what to build, what to share, and why it matters, even when you only have a few hours a week. When you follow the right methodology, you stop chasing job opportunities. They start coming to you. And if independence is your goal, that same structure allows you to build it without burning out or gambling everything. This is exactly why the Game Creator Accelerator is about. No shortcuts, no hype, a clear, proving way to move forward with intention. To learn more about the Game Creator Accelerator, visit Woolun.com. Check what the program is about, how it is helping people today, and set a time to chat with me directly. We will look at where you are right now, what you want to achieve, and how the Game Creator Accelerator can help you get there. What are you waiting for? Visit Woolun.com. The link is in the description. Now let's add the resting functions on the header. First is a void function called spawn beam bfx. We're going to pass the const f vector, but I'm going to change these parameters. I'm going to call this start, pass as reference as well. This one will be the target. Another parameter for f transform, reference as well, name socket transform. Good. And let's add the comment. Spawn beam bfx from start to target. Let's add another name void spawn impact bfx and decal const f hit result. We can call it hit, and the corresponding comment will be spawn impact effects and decal at hit location. That sounds good. And there is another one that I want to add already, which is the play fire montage. This will add the animation. And now let's create these functions. 1, now the spawned effect and decal. 2, and let's go to the play fire montage. Click here, and now we have it. Let's go to the top. We start calling the spawn beam bfx, passing the muzzle start final impact point and the socket transform. And then if muzzle hit dot be blocking hit, then we're going to spawn impact bfx and decal using the muzzle hit. Now it says the spawn impact bfx and decal is unidentified. Let me check. Here we have it. Let me save it and try to. It seems like the function was not created. Let's go to the bottom. It seems like something went wrong when we created this function. Spawn beam bfx. Let's go to the top. It's spawn impact bfx and decal. Yeah, I think I know what is the problem. Let's go to the bottom. Do you see this F? I think this F is wrong. Let's go to the shooter and rename it here. Let's see if now we fix it. Go to the top. There you go. It was wrongly named. Before I continue, I just check that resolve muzzle to aim. I haven't implemented this one. So let's take this entire section from the 2 until the aim point, cut it, go to the resolve to aim, paste it here, and let's make some other minor adjustments. First, add an F collision query params. Using these params, only this will be the shoot trace and the value true. And then ignore this, which means that we're going to ignore our character. I can remove the F hit result because I'm passing it as part of the function. The muzzle trace radius 3 is perfect. Then the B muzzle hit, which will be get world sweep single by channel. Instead of muzzle hit, it will be out hit, which is this parameter. The muzzle start, the aim point, F quad identity, ECC visibility, F collision, we're going to make a sphere, passing the muzzle trace radius, and again the params that we set here. Finally, for the B muzzle blocking hit, we don't have the muzzle hit, we have the out hit. So replace that one here. And then we can remove the return and just say return the B muzzle blocking hit with the values of the out hit or the aim point. Remove this extra line and save. Now we can go to the spawn beam VFX. Let's go to the top. Let's cut the section of the Bowling Beam Niagara. Move to the bottom. Here's the spawn beam VFX. Add it here. And let's make some small changes. Instead of doing this if, I'm going to do if not Bowling Beam Niagara, then return. And then I'm going to leave the rest like this. In terms of the efficiency, it will be the same thing, but in terms of reading the code, it could be easily to do it Now the muzzle start won't be this start, but this one that we have. So replace it, and the socket transform, it will be the same. For the bottom, it will be here also the start, and then the target for the impact point. Another function down. Let's go to the top, and now let's move the VFX decal. So cut this section, go to the bottom, paste it here. We can now remove this because we checked the condition before calling this function. And instead of the muzzle hit, we're going to pass this parameter, which is the hit. So replace it here, and here, and here. And finally, we need to add the play fire montage. Go to the top, and it's this section, cut it, go to the bottom, edit. And here we don't have to do any changes because we are not passing parameters. I just have to call the play fire montage at the top, play fire montage, and that's it. Save and confirm that you also saved the header. Now let's go back to Unreal and compile. Excellent, we don't have errors, and it's time to test it. Here it is. We can shoot, it is working. If I aim, shooting, excellent. And if I cover with the wall and try to shoot, yeah, I'm hitting the wall. And if I move here, fantastic. Everything is working, and now our code is refactor. Remember how big was the original function of shoot button pressed? Now we divide this function in just these calls. And yeah, you added some private functions at the bottom, but it is easier to read now that you have this structure. You can go to the direct function that you want to change at any point, but it will be constrained in that space. Good developing practice, guys. And this is exactly why refactoring matters. The code was working, the shooter felt good, but working code is not the same as good code. By breaking that big function into smaller, focused pieces, we made the system easier to read, easier to debug, and much easier to extend later. This is also a good reminder that using AI the right way is not about replacing your thinking. It is about getting a second perspective, comparing approaches, and then making better decisions as a developer. Please take a second to support this channel. Like, subscribe, comment, share, and ring the bell so you are ready for the next lessons as we continue building this third-person shooter called Mad Gameverse. The entire development is free on this channel, and the link to the full playlist is in the description. And remember to visit woolen.com to learn more about the Game Creator Accelerator Lifetime Mentorship and set a time to chat with me directly. If you want to learn how to take your first real steps as a game developer, check out my full training session on how to break into the gaming industry after office hours. And as always, until next time, keep creating, keep sharing, and most importantly, keep dreaming big. I'll see you soon, my fellow creators.